consider it. But let's make sure that it's not when the council's, part of their responsibilities first. I have no idea.
I can tell you, we do not buy their vehicles. They buy their own vehicles.
Right.
I understand. I need the video, but I'm not sure about
If
that.
we paid.
Yeah. I don't know.
I know we buy equipment, there's a fund for equipment.
It's not equipment.
Parts on equipment, but I don't know about that. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure I get it right. Okay. Next item then, we go back on David, if you have any other item.
Yes, sir. Item A, unclaimed bodies, there are none for your consideration today. We'll go down to Mr. Willie Robinson, Director of Central Repair, with two items for your consideration.
Good morning, Board President. I just have two items on the agenda this morning. The first item is I'm requesting your authorization to cannibalize two vehicles and sale on the name strap.
Okay, Mr. President.
Second.
It's been moved by second discussion. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion is carried.
While you're talking about scrap iron, Ms. Willie, is this just the maintenance area?
Basically, it's from out here, I think maintenance uses also. And I think inventory basically saying they own the deal also.
I just wonder if the price of scrap iron, I think, is pretty high right now. And if we could do kind of a sweep throughout the county, in the jail, all the offices, I mean, everywhere in the county, where we might have stuff that's just there and never going to be used again. Now might be a good time for somebody looking at pulling all that out and carrying it down to scrap man and see if we can get a good price for it all. Throw a little income back in.
Is that right?
Well, we have a contract with a scrap iron hauler. They can go to any site, pick it up or whatever, and they just pay us a percentage off it. If anybody have any, they can just contact me. I can send the hauler to a particular site.
Okay. Just something we can check into. Never know what's laying around out there.
I know the sheriff department uses sometimes on some.
Okay.
The second item is I'm requesting your authorization to sell 5 vehicles through Gulf Deal auction.
Okay, let's put it in order.
So
It's been moved.
Second.
Second discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next item would be, let's see, we do not have any items under personnel. We'll go to Mr. Clarence Robinson with items for your consideration. What I say? I'm sorry. Clarence Robinson, I didn't mean to give you a new name.
Good morning, Mr. President.
What's the new name?
Good morning, Mr. President, and members of the board. The first item for your consideration is a resolution to apply for a CDBG Public Facilities Grant from the Mississippi Department of Mississippi Development Department on behalf of the Eastside Water Association. And the resolution reads as follows. Resolution to apply for a 2012 CDBG grant from MDA. Whereas the Hinds County Board of Supervisors has an interest in providing public facilities assistance to the Eastside Water Association, and whereas the Hinds County Board of Supervisors desires to provide public facilities assistance to the Eastside Water Association by seeking outside funding, and whereas Hinds County Board of Supervisors is interested in submitting a community development block grant public facilities application to the Mississippi Development Authority for 2012 funding. Now therefore be it resolved that Hinds County Board of Supervisors will hereby show their approval to apply for community development block grant public facilities grant funds. The board further designates the president to act as a representative of the county in this matter and to execute all necessary forms and documents on behalf of the county.
That's all moved. Second. Moved by second discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed,
second item is a board order authorizing the scheduling and advertising of a public hearing, which is a requirement of the CDBG grant application process.
Does that need to be in the Clarion Ledger?
No, it does not.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Move by second discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried.
The next is a board order authorizing the advertisement for an issuance of a request for proposal for CDBG grant application preparation services and engineering services to prepare the grant application, develop cost estimates, and do the preliminary engineering and water viability study.
So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Move by second discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried.
Board order to authorize the application to Mississippi Department of Transportation for Transportation Enhancement Program Grant Fund for various transportation enhancement projects and activities throughout the county. Locations to be selected.
Okay, ready to vote?
So moved.
Is there a match on that?
Yes,
How much?
20%.
20% match.
Move, do we have a second? Second, it's been moved by second discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried.
Fifth is to request a resolution approving a non-discrimination notice on the Americans with Disabilities Act, which is a requirement of MDOT in order to continue receiving Federal Highway Administration funds.
Okay, ready to vote?
So moved.
It's been moved, do we have a second? I'll second. Move by second discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried.
Would you scan or email all of the copies of these resolutions to each respective board meeting?
I had to include most of that in the packet. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, it's in there? And-
Okay.
And the final one is a resolution approving and establishing grievance procedures under the Americans with Disabilities Act, which is a requirement of MDOT in order to continue receiving the Federal Highway Administration funds.
Okay, so it's been moved. Do we have a second? A second. Move by second discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Start separating each department. So when
Scan. Okay, yes. Next item on the agenda is from Mr. Michael Harrington. Make sure I get the name correct. Director of Maintenance Department. Not Robinson.
Good morning, board members, Mr. President, board of supervisors. Stand before you asking your approval on the Hinds County Adult Detention Center Emergency Response Plan. This response plan was set up through our water operator for our well system that we have at the detention center, Mr. Doug Barker.
Okay, ready to vote?
Now, this is a yearly audit?
No, this is the emergency response plan for the well.
I'm sorry, it said adult. I thought it said audit. My bad, these are not the usual reading glasses. My bad. So moved.
It's been moved. We have a second? A second. It's moved by second discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington.
Okay,
Next item on the agenda is from Mr. Timothy Lewis, purchasing.
Good morning, Mr. President, Board of Supervisors. We have two items for your consideration this morning. First item, Ms. Tabitha Ward, along with myself and the Purchasing Department and the Coppin Center, want to issue out some photos. We're requesting the approval of the board this morning to advertise and accept bids for the purchase of these surplus items that you have before you, printer ink, as well as toner cartridges. We're seeking to sell about 500 plus items that was collected in a bulk package, and these items cease to be used by the county purposes. We're asking for your approval.
So,
Second.
Move proper second.
I don't, yeah, just a quick question. Could you tell me again the figure you give me, what you think this is worth, just as sitting here?
We're looking at anywhere between $30,000 and $35,000.
$35,000. And this was just stuff that you went through and you found in foot lockers, wall lockers, behind chairs, wherever it was, just being stored up, stocked,
Yes, sir.
and purchased in the past or at the present, and not being used. Is that
Correct.
correct?
It's not being used. It's correct, and probably came from transitioning computers from various locations, and it was on shelves to stock.
so lesson learned.
Okay? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
That's a good part that you evaluate just for your purchases outside. Well, not just this anything.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
The second item that we are asking for your approval is to approve the reject payment of invoice 527211 in the amount of $17 for services received by DTPM for the Circuit Drug Court for the administrating of drug testing. Services did not have a purchase order.
Okay, that's ready to go on.
So moved.
Been moved. We have a second. A second. Move from second discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Board members, item J, discussion of Pocahontas Volunteer Fire Station. I would like to defer that to a future meeting. The person who requested to be on the agenda could not attend today and is in agreement to defer that discussion. The next item we have is from Ms. Lily Woods. However, there are no items for Ms. Woods. No emergency purchases, and there are several minute insertions. However, no action is required by the board. Thank you, sir.
Okay. This is attorney.
Good morning, Mr. President and the board members. Some items I would like to take first are the tax abatement and exemption issues. After review of a request for tax abatement for Cal-Maine Foods, it was a recommendation of the Hinds County Economic and Development Authority to approve an abatement in the amount of 15 meals of the general fund for a period of 10 years.
Ready to vote?
So moved.
Been moved. We have a second. Second. Been moved. Second discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Next, there was a request for tax abatement from Eaton Area Space for work completed in 2006. And upon recommendation of the Hinds County Economic and Development Authority, there was a recommendation to approve an abatement in the amount of 19.17 meals of the general fund for a period of 5 years.
Ready to vote?
So,
Second. Been moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved by second discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
There was discussion earlier regarding CPA firm to perform County closeout services for the Sheriff's Department. And I believe the Sheriff-elect and the current Sheriff agreed upon a firm, and at this time I will request the authority from the board to enter an agreement pursuant to 19369 under professional services for a certified public accountant to enter an agreement with Tan, Brown, and Russ Company, PLLC, certified public accountants for an amount of $115 per hour, which is the same rate that we currently pay under the BKD contract.
Okay, what's the pleasure, board?
So moved.
It's been moved,
Second.
proper second. How much time is that is involved in that?
There was not a limitation in this early proposal with regard to the number of hours, but it will not be a full and complete audit in that it will not be a composite review of the work, only certain specified accounts.
Does the audit require a lot of times you have to put a time on time?
The final engagement will have an estimated number of hours with the fee. However, we have not gotten to that point, and at this time, I'm merely requesting authority from the board to enter.
All right. See, move on, second discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion is carried.
There were several other matters I caused to be placed on the agenda. One regarding the authority to enter a resolution to interlocal with Alcorn. There's some additional information that I would like to research with regard to that matter, and I will have it for another board meeting. The other issues regarding resolutions for voter ID as well as the post offices, I am moving from the agenda unless there is some discussion that board members would like to have.
I guess what we will do is ask board on the voter ID. I would love for us to go ahead and that where you can prepare later. We would send a letter opposing the voter ID to the Justice Department. I put that in the form of motion and y'all prepare later. We have a second.
Second.
Been moved, proper second. Discussion.
Just a quick question. This is the same proposition that the state passed by overwhelming numbers in the previous election. Is that correct? Is that what the resolution is about?
Yes.
Opposition to that resolution?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion is carried.
And I do have two matters for executive session. One involves a litigation matter, and the other is involving the Barn Plate Corridor acquisition of property. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. President, other board members. First item I have is approval for the Public Works Department to clean and repair the drainage ditch in the town of Terry Park subdivision. This is requested by the Hinds County School Board system. They will pay for the materials up to $17,000. They will pay for the materials and removal of any trees and debris to the landfill.
Okay, ready, board?
So moved.
It's been moved. A second. Moved by second discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried.
Last item is request approval of the amendment to the contract between Hinds County and Civil Tech Incorporated for additional engineering services up to $23,000 for the Hinds County Vine Swing Bridge project to be funded from the severance tax fund.
So moved. Second. Yes.
And this motion would have to be made after consideration of the needs of the various taxing districts, since it will be coming from severance tax funds. And I ask that be placed as a part of the motion.
You got that, Ms. Clerk?
Yes, yes, yes.
Supervisor Smith, and I also wanted to
Big
point out one thing to the board about the severance tax. During the budget process, due to a new gas regulation, we placed the severance tax money, the balance at 930, into the public works budget to adhere to the fund balancing. We were only doing that, placing that money in severance tax once a year during the budget process. So we would accumulate what monies they would have this year and do it at the end of the next budget process. You may recall we took the $492,000 and put it in their budget. Right now the severance tax hasn't had a chance to, it has about 20-something thousand. But whatever accumulates this year, we will do the same thing at the end of this fiscal year to have the board determine how it wanted to spend it, because we have new regulations regarding fund balance.
How does that going to affect the motion?
Well, Mr. Freitas is asking that he use the $20-something thousand that's in the severance tax, not the money that he already has in his budget.
The money that was placed into the budget was for road resurfacing specifically. This is for a bridge.
Right.
I remember there was a big discussion about whether it was going to be one-time money or whether it was going to be recurring, but it went in for road resurfacing.
Correct.
So I'm just saying the severance tax, we were changing the way we are allocating it once a year rather than all in a year. Right now the severance tax only has $20-some thousand.
And how much is
He says for all.
23,000.
He's asking for basically all of it.
well? How should we handle it?
Well, we were trying to check what the procedure was and what the regulation, we were trying to let it accumulate, and that's why we had put all of it, we had allocated it at 930, and the process was to allocate each 930, rather than have an allocation throughout the year.
I guess what, my question is, we have this ongoing project with DOT.
Well, I just wanted to make you
And
aware.
I understand, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to see how we can work through it. And we're gonna lose that money if we don't try to move forward and get this project going. So my question is, how should the motion be to be able, we're in support of, how should the motion be in order to be able to use the service taxes to
Can I
finish
give you a
the
little
project?
bit more information on this? Currently, in the fund that has that grant in it, there's $60,000 set aside for that grant right now. And
Right.
at the end of the year, if you want to continue with the process that Ms. Woods discussed, you could go ahead and add additional money from the severance tax money at 930 to replace the use of that $20,000 now, because that $60,000 is just sitting there.
Well, it's going to be
That's
used
enough.
very shortly.
How should the motion be? Huh?
That money is going to be used very shortly because we have invoices coming in.
Oh, the money,
Right.
the $60,000.
I didn't know the project was other than in the engineering drawing phase.
It appears that the project can go forward. The board just has to determine where the money should come from for this amendment to the contract.
You may want to consider at this point to use the money that's currently in the fund set aside for this grant, and then if in the future he needs additional money, we can readdress it again at that later date. When he runs,
When the money comes in.
Yeah, because the $60,000 has been sitting
Well,
there for over a year and a half.
Can the motion now address that? That you use it now and then when the...
You don't even need a motion to use that money right now. It's set aside for that grant to pay expenses for it.
No, the money that's set aside, that money's earmarked for specific items that MDOT requires the money to be there now. Because they won't move forward with the grant unless you have the monies there earmarked for it.
Can't we just say for engineering services up to the 9,000 that we have?
Well,
The 9,000 that...
it's 23,000.
23.
But we don't have 23,000.
You do have 23,000.
Well, what's the problem? I thought you just said we only had 20.
No, I didn't say that. They did. I didn't say that. The money's there. The money's there, but all you have to decide is where you want to take it from.
Why was a problem created?
What should the motion be so we can,
I think the motion was good. I think the motion was good, the money's there, so I think the vote on it.
If the money's there, let's just move to vote on the motion. My goodness.
okay. Leave the motion as it is, okay, we can move properly. Did I get it? I think I said it. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion is carried.
The motion gonna be as it reads,
Huh?
No, I think we'll have to add one more sentence in the copy.
Yes, okay. All right. Mr. Attorney, oh, you already.
We already, but usually the chancery clerk goes next.
Oh, yeah, the chancellor clerk.
Good morning again.
I guess somebody was going to.
First, I have a order canceling tax sales, authorizing refunds, reassessment changes to the assessment roll, and surrender tax for the month of November. For your approval.
So moved. It's been moved.
Second.
Proper second discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion is carried.
Next, I have some 16-section leases for your approval. The first one I have is a 16-section lease with Kamala Data in the Hinds County Board of Education.
Okay. Been moved. Have a second.
Second.
Moved by second discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion is carried.
Next, I have a partial release. It's a partial lease assignment from the Afro-American Leaders to Advance the Rights of the Poor and Disenfranchised Trust to WACHBE LLC.
Okay, Lady Lloyd. So moved. Been moved. We have a second. A second. Moved by second discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion is carried.
Next, I have a 16-section termination of lease with Gladys S. Peoples and the Hinds County Board of Education.
Lady Lloyd. Moved. Do we have a second? Moved by second. Moved by second discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion is carried.
And last, I have a termination of lease. I would believe it would be for the Friends of Terry, for the Terry Depot. We had to terminate the lease that you previously had in order to make everything complete for them.
Okay, I so moved. It's been moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved by second discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion is carried.
And last, I have an order approving the addition and deletions of the supplemental rolls for the homestead exemptions for the year 2011.
So moved. Been moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved by second discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion is carried.
We also have several minute insertions that do not need to approve at this time. Thank you.
All right, in the item, we need a executive session.
Yes, sir.
I believe that we consider going into executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Then moved by second discussion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion is carried. Move that we go into executive session for the purpose of
Discussion of fire putting court acquisition of lands and litigation involving Kelly Young Juvenile Justice Center. These are purposes authorized pursuant to executive session. Mississippi Code annotated 2541-7 B and D.
okay. Do I get a second?
Second.
Move from second discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. I do want to say, I got the word that somebody was going to shoot me, and I brought my bodyguard with me. She's here to take.